Today we celebrate the feast of Saints Martha, Mary, and Lazarus. And I have just run across myself some commentary on this that is just blowing me away, because it's a brand new perspective on one of these family members. We know all about Martha and Mary from another scripture passage, from other gospel readings, from other masses. That, we know, Martha, Martha, you are anxious and concerned about all the details of serving. Mary has chosen the better part. It shall not be taken from her, because Mary was just sitting at the feet of Jesus, just being in his presence, just taking it all in, taking his presence in. Today, however, we add the third person of that family, and that's Lazarus. There is no feast of St. Lazarus. Today used to be just the feast of Martha, but years ago the church added these other two family members, Martha, or Mary, and Lazarus. But I would like to focus most of all today on Lazarus. That Jesus was very active in even a passive sort of way in the lives of Martha and Mary. But the commentary that I heard just this morning is that Lazarus was self-absorbed. He wasn't concerned about hospitality. He wasn't concerned about serving Jesus. He was concerned about Lazarus. And that is just a profound new insight. That's why Jesus took the opportunity of his death not to hurry. Now, he already knew these people. He already knew Martha and Mary and Lazarus, because he used to come to their house. They were just friends. And they had dinner together many times, probably. And so when Jesus found out that he died, Lazarus died, that he just didn't rush. He and his disciples stayed for a couple more days when Jesus received the word. And then he goes, and then this magnificent story plays out, where Martha, she's on the lookout. Of course, she's active. She's looking. As soon as she hears that Jesus is coming, she runs out. She goes out to meet him. Oh, if you had been here, my brother never would have died. And then an important conversation they have is that she said, don't worry. Jesus said to her, don't worry, your brother will rise. And she says, yeah, I know, at the resurrection, at the general resurrection, which was a common belief among the really Orthodox Jewish people at the time, those who bought in the whole story of the Old Testament with all of its prophecy. So, yeah, she knew that he would rise. But then Jesus at that point says, I am the resurrection. I am the life, me. And then she says, yes, I know you are. She makes a profound, this goes along with St. Thomas's proclamation and Peter's, you are the Son of the living God. Well, Martha says the same thing here. She says, I know you are the Son of God. You're the one that we've been looking for. So that was a great act of faith on her part, and that it's recorded in Scripture is one of the reasons why Jesus delayed. But the second reason that he delayed was so that a huge demonstration could also take place. When they go to the tomb now, and Jesus calls Lazarus by name. By name. By name. He knew Lazarus' name. He knew Lazarus long before he was even born. He knows us long before we are born. He says, Lazarus, come out. There's a dramatic pause. All of a sudden, Lazarus, who is still bound in the burial wrappings, he comes out looking like a mummy, all wrapped up. But that's the great new symbolism that is just, it's looking right at you in the face. He comes out bound as he was buried, bound up in himself. Look at this beautiful imagery. He was all wrapped up in himself, and he always was. He was a very, very selfish, self-aggrandizing person, and so he comes out the same way he went in. But then Jesus, obviously, he comes alive, and so, but Lazarus heard, even in the depths of his death and his the consequences of his selfishness, he comes out. And then what happens? Jesus says, untie him, unbound him. And so they go unwrap Lazarus. This is extremely important. He didn't do it by himself. He got himself into that situation alone, but he could not get out alone. He needed Jesus to call him forth. But then he needed Jesus' disciples. He needed, as we would say now, members of the community, members of the church. That's why we need one another. We're all involved in each other's lives. And so we are to help those who are bound when directed by Jesus and empowered by Jesus to do so. And so that's what happens. And then they have the big feast. Probably that's the other scripture passage where Martha, Mary, and Lazarus are all there. And that's when the Martha thing comes, and that's the whole other thing. But isn't it amazing to know that the third person of this family represents, now a lot of us are the Marthas, a lot of us are the Marys, but most of us are the Lazaruses. But we have a little bit of each in us. We just hope it's not a lot of the Lazarus before he was called forth. And I am sure the very fact that we are celebrating his feast today, that Lazarus made a complete turnabout, and then he learned from his sisters, Martha and Mary, to lead a balanced life of discipleship, knowing that we can do nothing on our own. Everything is a response to God's creative, magnificent love for us first.